Legit Cool Podcast.
The world is changed, and some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. But the Ring of Power has a will of its own.
Evil is stirring in Mordor. The ring has awoken. Sauron needs only this ring to cover all the lands of darkness.
What must I do?
The ring must be destroyed.
Cast back into the fires of Mount Doom.
I know what hunts you. They're coming.
They will find the ring and kill the one who carries it.
You have my sword.
My bow.
And my axe.
You carry the fate of us all, little one.
This task was appointed to you, and if you do not find a way, no one will.
Let us hope that our presence may go unnoticed. They are coming.
We must turn back!
Shall not pass!
You will face evil, and you will defeat it. Even the smallest person can change the course of the future.
I'm glad you're with me.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Legit Cool Podcast, your go-to spot for all things movies. We're your guides to the cinematic universe, exploring the latest blockbusters, uncovering hidden gems, and celebrating the timeless classics. Today is episode 2 of the 6-part series of The Lord of the Rings, and we're going to be reviewing and recapping none other than The Fellowship of the Ring, an extended edition. Joining me today is an experienced podcaster who goes by the name of Bailey.
Hello.
What's up, Bailey?
How you going?
Okay, that was Cappy. You're not experienced. I know this is the first time you're doing it.
Yeah, no, I have no experience at all, bro.
How are you feeling about doing this?
Nah, good. Keen to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about some sick movies. Or sick movie.
Did you just change the lighting?
Maybe. Now it matches my V can. See this?
What's your lighting thing called again?
Genio, I think.
The Wish version.
Yeah, the Wish version.
Philips. I was actually thinking of getting the Philips version too. I don't have a lot of LED lights, but I got a friend who's got like this whole lamp system. He's got like 6 lamps in his house. He's also an interior designer, so that probably helps.
Yeah,
if I was to design it, I'll probably like shit.
Yeah.
And he uses the Philips app. That's how I know about it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I got my housemates use the globes. I always walk past their rooms, and their rooms are pink and purple. Great colours, man.
Did they get Philips as well, or did they get the?
I think so. I think they got like the proper stuff.
The real deal.
Yeah, that's it.
But no, yo, dude, welcome to the podcast, man, and it's good to have you on here. I know you love films. This is part of the reason why I asked you to come on here.
I do.
But also cheekily, I asked you to come on here because the other guys bailed. So.
It's alright.
But you're a super sub.
One man's loss is another one's game.
Yeah, man. That's it. We just finished a big. Well, when I say I just finished a big conversation, 1.5 hour long conversation with Shane Rangi and Gino Acevedo. So we're doing this back to back, and that was an awesome conversation. For the listener, you can get access to that probably in a couple of hours or maybe 3 hours, depending on how long we take to do this review and recap. It'll be available on Spotify later tonight. The video version will be available on YouTube, and there'll be snippets of reels and stories and all that kind of stuff available later on. It just depends if I'm tired or not. Really, that's what it comes down to. But yeah, doing this review for all 3 films, it's been a long time coming. I remember when I first got into doing movie podcasts, I said that I was going to do the Lord of the Rings trilogy as one of the first few episodes. 88 episodes later,
Eventually,
we made it to Fellowship of the Ring, and these films, this trilogy, has a special place in my heart. It sounds cheesy as shit, but whatever. I'm just going to say it has a special place in my heart for a lot of reasons. But the main reasons is I grew up with these films being made in my backyard. These films were made in Wellington, New Zealand. This is where I'm from. I'm born and raised in New Zealand, and Wellington, sorry. And I was 12 years old, I think. I think I was 12 when this film came out in 2001. It was December. Where is it? Scroll to the bottom. December 19th, 2001. And I remember distinctively and vividly. I said this in my conversation with Gino and Shane. I remember being so awestruck, inspired, excited, and also full of pride. Because being a movie person since I was a kid, since I was 5 years old, growing up with cinema, growing up with some of the coolest films that's ever been made, and some of the ones that really shaped part of my character growing up as a kid. And, that's one reason. And the other reason is this is a New Zealand film, right? Like, it's not even an American film. This is a through and through 100% DNA New Zealand film. We've never had anything like this. And so for it to be filmed, not only just in New Zealand, but in my backyard, was just something of a dream come true in some kind of way. As cheesy as that sounds, but that's part of the reason why, like, I really love this trilogy. And then on top of that, it outperforms itself for storytelling, visuals, groundbreaking visual effects, groundbreaking technology. They literally invented technology such as like a new developed version of mocap, motion capture. This piece of tech in visual effects called what is it called? The word's escaping me. I think it's called Massive. That was invented by Weta Effects, well, now known as Weta Effects, but formerly known as Weta Digital. They invented all of this technology for these films. So, like, I have like a myriad of reasons why I love this film. And then on top of that, the most obvious thing, which is what we're here to do, review it, is talk about how good the filming is from a craftsmanship point of view, and just from a typical movie point of view. So, where did you first come across the films?
So
like recent, right?
Well, no. So I've watched them growing up, but I've kind of forgotten what happens because it's been a long time. In 2019, me and my mates did a massive extended edition marathon, and that was like the second time I've ever watched them in my life, right? So we started at like midday and finished at like 2 a.m. So we just watched them back to back to back, which is a grind, bro.
Oh, actually, that's the marathon you told me about.
Yeah, I told you about that. But because of that, they all got like mixed together, and I drifted off a couple of times throughout the movies just because it's a long day. So the first time I really actually sat down and watched them properly has been just recently. I started reading the books or listening to the audiobooks. Andy Serkis, You're a Goat.
That's right.
Started so well. And that just got me into really wanting to watch the movies again. So I watched all the extended editions of all the movies recently. So they're fresh in my mind. Yeah.
And we, for the listener, we actually watched Two Towers?
Two Towers.
Yeah, we watched Two Towers together. And we watched Return of the King together. So we do these Discord sessions where we watch a bunch of movies and stream it.
Yeah.
We stream it individually and stream it on Discord, is what we're saying. Yeah, man. And you were actually saying before that you're a big Harry Potter fan, like a massive Harry Potter fan. And
one of the nerd sort of circles I'm in is Harry Potter. That's for sure.
Do you have like Harry Potter pajamas? Is that what you're saying?
Mate, hang on.
Oh no! Please don't show me.
Harry Potter figurines.
Oh my goodness! Wait, that's not even the What's the fate? Like pop?
Books are down here too. Like,
Oh, you got the books down there. Do you have like a little Harry Potter shrine over there?
I've got a nerd shrine over there. So Harry Potter, Doctor Who. What else have I got? A bit of Marvel, some Marvel comics. Yeah, a little bit of a shrine. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
Damn, I wouldn't be surprised if you have Harry Potter underwear. And I do not.
I think I can show you. No.
So how do you match up something like the Lord of the Rings trilogy to Harry Potter? Like, you don't have to compare it, but like, how do you sort of see the two major, most popular pop culture fantasy stories of all time potentially? How do you match them up sort of side by side?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to match them up, like you said. The difference is Harry Potter was something, it was like my childhood, whereas Lord of the Rings is something recent, so that makes it kind of hard to match them up against each other, whereas one I'm really nostalgic to, I've read the books a lot, watched the movies a lot, one's fresh in my mind, but I've watched them where I can appreciate the cinematography and the music, and I can appreciate the in-depth details about the movies more. So yeah, I don't know, like, they're both great series to watch, and Lord of the Rings is just a whole nother level of deep. It's just great. Yeah,
I agree. Lord of the Rings is better. And with Fellowship of the Ring, because, it's interesting. The Lord of the Rings, from kind of the research that I've been doing just for the podcast, I've come across a bunch of different interviews from really well-known, acclaimed, I don't know, let's say writers, researchers, publishers or authors of like the Tolkien interview with blah blah blah, that those types of people, and all of them were saying that the Lord of the Rings story wasn't really the main story that Tolkien was underpinning, I guess, as part of his career. I think he talks about how I think stories such as like the Silmarillion, no, not Silmarillion, I think The Hobbit was more of the story that he wanted to be a bit more of an emphasis or a focus. And The Lord of the Rings was just another thing, but he needed to explore that world more in other stories. And then on top of that, I sort of learned more about the character of Tolkien. I remember somebody telling me that the story of Lord of the Rings was influenced and is a little bit analogous to World War I/World War II, but that's actually completely false. That's not really. Yeah, that's actually not the case. And if anything, Tolkien was quite outspoken about his films being compared and being analogous to war. He said, "No, these movies are not allegory for World War I or World War II." Pretty fascinating, right?
I would have thought that they were, especially with the ending, how they go back to. I won't say anything.
Yeah. We don't do future spoilers on here, even though we've done a lot to spoil films in previous episodes. To be honest.
Yeah,
but yeah, these kind of experts in Tolkien lore and Tolkien biography and life or whatever, they talk about how like Tolkien was actually quite a pessimistic person, which is kind of odd. Like when you read the Lord of the Rings book as you're going through at the moment, I haven't read the books, or even when you watch these films, you would never in a million years think that Tolkien was a pessimistic person. And one thing that they said about his pessimism towards life and the world was simply because one of the themes of Lord of the Rings is about, look, there is hope, but you may or may not get that hope. You may not earn that hope, or you may not even be successful in trying to get that hope. That's kind of the pessimistic angle. But the optimistic angle to that same through line would be, you can get hope, and hope is attainable. So that's kind of the difference there. So it's almost kind of like a pseudo way of pessimism as opposed to like pragmatic pessimism. Like he wasn't a guy that was like, "No, there's no such thing as hope." That's not what he was trying to be. But he was trying to be realistic and pragmatic about the whole idea and the concept of hope. So yeah, that was pretty interesting and eye opening. And then when you come across like the first film, this one here, Fellowship of the Ring, it does so much to establish that world, the world that Tolkien builds. It does so much to establish the characters, to build arcs that are so tangible that by the time you get to the end of it, you're ready to just watch the next one. But then you have to wait a whole painful year for the next one.
Not me.
No, you. You're the lucky few, man. When I watched this in 2001, we had to wait a whole year to see Two Towers, which is absolutely painful.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into the movie. Let's get into some points about the film, and then we'll get into the review. So,
yes,
Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition was directed by Peter Jackson, known for movies such as Meet the Feebles, The Frighteners, Braindead, King Kong, The Lovely Bones. Have you seen any of those films?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, cool. Moving on. I worked on The Lovely Bones, by the way, as a FYI.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's a very dark story.
So why isn't Peter Jackson on the podcast then?
Good question. Maybe I should have asked Shane. Shane and actually Gino lives a couple of doors from Peter Jackson.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Maybe I should have said, hey, can you ask Peter if he wants to be on the podcast? Oh my goodness. My subscriber list will go up through the roof.
That'd be nuts. That would be nuts.
The writers of the film were 3 writers. I actually didn't include the third writer on there because I think I was just going to say it. Anyway, it's Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens. Peter Jackson's also he's kind of co-writer, but the main writers for all 3 films, especially this one here, is Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, and they also worked on similar films to Peter Jackson being the director. Mortal Engines, Lovely Bones were under Philippa Boyens' credits, and pretty much the same credits that Fran Walsh has with Peter Jackson. Fran Walsh is the wife of Peter Jackson. And then there's homage and respect to J.R. Tolkien as a writer. The music was composed by Howard Shore. You know him for movies such as Doubt, The Aviator, The Game. Awesome movie, by the way, The Game. I'm supposed to review that on the podcast as well. Surprisingly, the movie That Thing You Do, I didn't even know that he was the musical composer for that one. Silence of the Lambs and Ransom.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. Good film. And the DOP cinematographer is the late Andrew Lesney. Unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. He is known for films such as Babe, King Kong, I Am Legend, The Lovely Bones, and Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Wow, some cool films there.
Pretty good films there. And we have also done, shameless plug, we've done a review on Rise of the Planet of the Apes. There's a few episodes before this one. This movie stars Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Orlando Bloom, Sean Bean, Alan Howard, Noel Appleby, Sean Astin, Sala Baker, Billy Boyd, Andy Serkis, Martin Soska? Oh, I don't know if I pronounced that
good
correctly.
English.
Yeah, very good English. Viggo Mortensen, Kate Blanchett, Mark Ferguson, Ian Holm, and Christopher Lee. The movie has a runtime of 3 hours and 8 minutes, and again, this is the extended cut, not the theatrical release. With a budget of $93 million, this movie went on to make just over $190 million at the box office. That is nuts for the early 2000s.
Crazy.
I don't know what records were existing at the time, like late 90s and sort of early 2000s, but that is pretty crazy. Knowing that big films don't even average that in this day and age, it's just a testament for how good this movie was, and also how rapid the how rapid the word of mouth was.
Yeah.
Released on December 19th, 2001, the movie currently has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 91 from the critics and 95 from the audience.
Well deserved too.
Yeah, should be 100, right?
Should be close.
Maybe. Who knows? We might.
Cheeky 99.
We could change our mind after the recap. I don't know.
Maybe I actually didn't like this movie.
Yeah, that's part of the benefit of doing the recap. But the story goes as such. The future of civilization. Should I say it in like Galadriel's voice? Or Aragorn's voice? The future of civilization rests in the... I can't say it with a straight face. Rests in the fate of the One Ring which has been lost for centuries. Powerful forces are unrelenting in their search for it, but fate has placed it in the hands of a young hobbit named Frodo Baggins, who inherits the ring and steps into legend. A daunting task lies ahead for Frodo when he becomes the ring bearer to destroy the one ring in the fires of Mount Doom, where it was forged. Yeah, pretty good. Like summary of the story.
Mm-hmm.
The consensus from the critics, according to Rotten Tomatoes, is it is full of eye-popping special effects and featuring a pitch-perfect cast. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings, brings J.R.R. Tolkien's classic to vivid life. What a corny first line, though. Full of eye-popping special effects. But they're not wrong, though. It is full of eye-popping special effects and groundbreaking, literally groundbreaking visual effects.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to throw it over to you, seeing as you're the guest and first-time podcaster. We are popping your cherry on the podcast.
What do you mean? I'm an experienced podcaster.
You are an experienced listener. I'm going to throw it over to you. Just give us your first impressions of the film. Don't need to go into heavy detail. You can. You're more than welcome if you want to go on heavy detail. But what did you think of it? And, what did you think of it? Go ahead.
First thing that comes to mind is, I guess, it's just such a beautiful film. Just so much of the film is just stunning. Like the background, the backdrops, the special effects, everything was just, especially for the early 2000s. Like this film's 23 years old?
About 20, 22? Wait, what year are we? 2024, 2021. Yeah. That's 22 years old?
22 and a half. 23 years. Yeah. And it all still holds up really well today. Like I said, first time I really sat down and watched the films was in the last few months. And if I didn't know it was from the early 2000s, I would probably not have really guessed that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's wicked. It's definitely a testament of its timeless technology and its execution.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the cast was really good. I've seen a lot of movies with people such as Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen, Elijah Wood too, and I think they all just kind of fit right into their roles. Even Sean Astin, seen him in some stuff, and like I think a lot of these actors were actually sort of made in this movie. Like Elijah Wood, this was one of his first really big movies.
Yeah, his movie prior to this was probably
Deep Impact.
Oh yeah, true. He did Deep Impact before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. But yeah, just there's not really much else to say. I don't know. Just really good everything.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. Christopher Lee being in this is one of the most surprising casts. Only because like Christopher Lee is that guy is how do I put it? I keep saying like words like legend and and outstanding performer, whatever. Yeah. But he is so upper echelon actor. It's like hard to catch that guy. You know, he's like the embodiment and the definition of acting.
Yeah.
If you looked up acting in another dictionary and maybe even in Middle Earth, you'll probably see the words Christopher Lee. He's just like this Shakespearean thespian. Believable actor. Anything that he does, it's so sharp, and it's kind of perfect to have him in this role as Saruman, or just as role as a wizard. Like even Ian McKellen as a wizard is just epic. So the two, the scene where they meet for the first time, and we're gonna. I don't want to spoil it for now because it's going to be in the recap. But when they meet for the first time, it's just, I feel like it's not even real. I'm like, wait, how are these two heavy hitter actors in the same scene playing damn wizards? It's crazy.
Yeah,
like
in a Kiwi movie too.
Yeah, in a Kiwi movie, but it's in a fantasy film. I just would never think that someone like Christopher Lee would ever do a fantasy film. It's almost like thinking whether Daniel Day-Lewis would ever do a fantasy film, which I can kind of see him do. Maybe he could be like an Aragorn type character. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see him fitting into a role like that.
But you know what I mean? Like these are like serious type actors, method actors.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's a bit different because, like, Christopher Lee, one of the biggest and first things I ever saw him in was Star Wars. So,
oh yeah, it's Count Dooku.
Yeah. So
yeah, and that's even wild to me too. The fact that he plays Count Dooku in a sci-fi / space opera, that's kind of fantasy as well in some ways.
Yeah, it's kind of fantasy. Yeah. So to see him in a role like this isn't too weird for me, I would say. But I can understand it as coming from someone like you who had probably never seen him in a movie like this before
well, it's just the gravity of his work. It's the gravity of his talent. He's just the type of guy that you wouldn't never think would ever do like fantasy roles. And then when you do cast him, it's like, oh my god, you've like hit a gold mine.
It's a big cast. Yeah. big cast.
Yeah. So for me, Fellowship of the Ring, I think this movie is flawless, or at least close to perfect. Sometimes a little bit hesitant to say anything is perfect or anything's like a 10 out of 10. But the podcast will show you, I'm on record on previous episodes of giving lots of films 10 out of 10s because I'm not really that afraid, to be honest. Sometimes something can be so good, it's okay to give it a 10 out of 10. Even though nothing's really perfect, it's kind of like a valid exaggeration, or a valid hyperbole, just because something is that good. Especially when your takeaways are fulfilled, Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it deserves a 10 out of 10 just because how well it sets up the rest of the series. Like, it just sets everything else up in the next two movies.
Yeah, precisely.
It gives you so much introduction, like you said earlier, into the world of Middle-earth.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see just a great introduction into what Middle-earth's like. And
yeah, man.
to some people, that was some of their first introductions into fantasy sort of movie. And world.
Like, it's definitely the type of film where it's a gateway drug for a lot of people who are not into fantasy.
Yeah.
But I just really love the world building aspect. The world building aspect is all the tenets that create that world, such as visuals, special effects, physical effects, sets, location, characters, costume, music, cinematography, lighting, design, like art direction. All these things, man, is just all complementing the world building aspect. And so when you're thrusted into this world, it's easy to be trapped in. Sort of, it's kind of like
you just get immersed.
Yeah, it's almost like a hypnotic state that you just forget that anything else exists, and that's the power of good filmmaking. Is where you're able to go into that.
Not many other series really immerse you in their series like you don't get sucked in and go into like you said your own little world sort of thing where you're just stuck in this hypnotic state of just thinking you're a part of it.
That's right.
Feeling a part of it.
And I think the beauty of these all three films, and obviously especially this one here, I think the reason why they were able to do that is because it was real locations they were going to. It's in this day and age, it's so easy for studios to crack down on filmmakers and be like, all right, I don't want you to go location because it's going to be too expensive. We have these really awesome, expensive sound studios that now you can do all sorts of stuff. And although a lot of that kind of stuff is cool, green screen, and now we have this thing called the volume, I think it is, which is kind of like a Disney invention. Oh, sorry, not a Disney invention, like an ILM invention. They use volume in things like Mandalorian and all that. And, Mandalorian and a lot of the later Star Wars films, they look pretty awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. But I just think there's something, it's in the eyes of the beholder, right? We can tell when something looks fake, and we can tell when something looks organic and natural. Yeah. And so I think if they were to put something like Lord of the Rings, try and build and create the whole world of Lord of the Rings in the volume, I just don't think it's going to have that same aesthetic. There's this kind of grainy, rugged aspect to all the locations that we travel to throughout Fellowship of the Ring that I just can't see that happening in visual effects or the volume. So
it's the imperfections that really make it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's the imperfections that kind of make it believable. They're like, oh yeah, cool. You are in New Zealand.
yeah, exactly. You're in this Middle Earth sort of place.
Yeah, man. And the characters in this film are just so endearing. They're so easy to connect to. There's all different types of characters that you're able to connect with on a different level. You know, everyone is so different from each other, but they have this magnetic ability to allow the audience to be drawn into their sensibilities.
Yeah.
So,
and
then, man, the musical score is from
Howard
Howard Shore.
Started.
Holy crap. Like, if there was...
Some of the best.
Yeah, man. Like, every time a lot of the score kicks in at the right moments and it's got its own identity in certain scenes for certain characters, man, I'm just like a Rick. I'm like...
There's just this musical score in multiple scenes and in all these movies are just so perfect for the scene.
Yeah.
Just the way that the pace, the tune, everything is just so spot on and what you really want to hear.
And every time I think it's called like Many Meetings is the name of that classic Lord of the Rings scene where it goes do 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 do. I think it's called Many Meetings.
Is that at the start?
Well, it's throughout the whole trilogy.
It's the movie.
It's like the main. You could call it the main theme of Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
All the Lord of the Rings nerds are probably like, no, it's not called Many Meetings. I'm actually pretty sure that it's called Many Meetings, but
I feel like one of the most iconic ones has to be the doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, that's the that always kicks in when the Uruk-hai and the orcs and anything to do with like Isengard or actually it's actually just Isengard. Come and think about it, because it's not even in any of the Sauron scenes. I don't think.
I actually have the song saved in my Spotify and it's under Isengard. So
damn.
I think the Caverns of Isengard it's called.
Nerd.
Yeah, bro, it's so good. That's very iconic for me. I think because I used to play the games, the Two Tower games, and that song used to be in the. I
actually knew a lot of people that were so obsessed with the games on PlayStation when they came out, and they'd never seen the films.
Well, I mean, I hadn't seen the films, and that's a nostalgic game for me. So.
Oh shit! So that's how you got introduced to Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, actually, I think it would be now that I think about it. I completely forgot about that. Damn. But yeah, I guess that is how I really got introduced to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
playing the games with my older brother.
I never got to play it. Maybe I should try and find it. Surely there's like a PC version, right?
I'm sure there's a remastered version somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I really. I mean, I have so much to say about this film, but I think we should leave a lot of it to the recap, because the recap's going to take us through all the highs and lows, which I imagine is mostly highs, not many lows, unless we're talking about something evil and the dark. Yeah. The Dark Lord Sauron. I don't know. There's a lot to uncover in the recap, so I think we should.
I think that's the best place to start.
It's probably the best place to start.
Get into the recap.
Yeah.
Talk about the scenes. Talk about the everything.
And like how we always say in every single episode, well, most episodes on the podcast, is that the recap is also an opportunity for us to pick apart and be honest with what we may come across, and to maybe reestablish what we think about certain things, and then by the end of it, we either have more of a confirmation of how we felt about the film before getting into the recap, or we change our opinion completely. But something tells me that that's not going to happen, really. I don't know. I
was going to say, I don't think my opinion's going to get much worse, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just a fanboy, man. I am just a fanboy of these films, and they have a lot of sentimental value for me. So, are you ready to get in the recap?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was lost. For now, live. Okay, you're supposed to stop me at some point. I don't want to.
Well, what am I supposed to say, man? I didn't know what you were doing.
What a great way to open up the movie. I mean, I sound like a horrible Galadriel / Kate Blanchett, originally from Australia.
I was expecting you to do it the whole time. Just keep going.
No. It's such a great epilogue It's an epilogue and then sort of a prologue to the film and to the entire trilogy, and it's one of the most efficient, smart ways of getting us into the film. Because I guess one of the biggest challenges for them was, how do they condense everything into 3 films, right? I think that was one of the biggest things that they were thinking about. And I remember, I think it was Philippa Boyens that made the suggestion that we should compact a lot of exposition in an epilogue with sort of like a cut together montage type thing, in a way. Not really a montage, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, this whole epilogue is so efficient. It does everything. It tells us all the main points, who the rings are, or what the rings are, how they were forged, what Middle Earth is, where the ring traveled from sort of beginning to wherever it is now.
Yeah.
And introduce key characters. And to get us into that origin story, which essentially this is what this movie is, right? It's an origin story of Frodo Baggins, origin story of the ring, and an origin story of, I guess, all the main characters, really.
Yeah.
All the 9. Is it 9 companions? Yeah, 9 companions in the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
So
9?
Yeah.
Is it Fellowship 9 or 7?
9.
9. Yeah. Yeah, 9, of course.
8 survive.
Yeah. Whoa!
Spoiler alert! Whoa!
I haven't seen the movie, man.
Imagine people that are listening to this, they haven't even seen the film. They're like, what?
Well, they wouldn't even know who the Fellowship is.
No, they don't. And so the last line here from Lady Galadriel is a hobbit. No, sorry, I'll start from this part here. It was picked up by the most unlikely creature. Imagine. Okay, I'm going to put my Galadriel voice on.
Yeah, come on.
It was picked up by the most unlikely creature imaginable. A hobbit. Frodo Baggins of the Shire. For the time will soon come when hobbits will shape the fortunes of all. No, it's not that song.
No, it's not quite that. No,
it's actually crazy. I totally forgot that that's the last line before we get into the film itself. For the time will soon come when hobbits will shape the fortunes of all. How poignant is that? Because it's so true. You know, the hobbits are the real heroes. I mean, everybody's a real hero. They all contribute to the greater battle. But yeah, the hobbits sort of having the first. It's sort of the first intake of who the hobbits are, and then we sort of finish off with them as heroes at the end.
Yeah. Well, the hobbits aren't as affected by the ring as everyone else, which is why they were the ones to be the heroes.
And at this stage, we don't know why. We didn't even know that it's going to affect the hobbits. Remember, and the spoiler.
Sorry. Well, we've already spoiled that somebody dies. So
we spoiled the whole movie already. Okay, so
what was I going to say?
Were you going to say something?
Yeah. The way they do it is really good because in the, like I said, I've read the books. In the books, I think this part of the book is like in the audiobook. I think it was 55 minutes long. So they've really condensed it really well into something that's gives you all the information in a 55 that from like a 55
you're saying the
chapter.
the epilogue in this film is roughly about 55 minutes in the audiobook.
Yeah. So they've really condensed it and demonstrated everything that you need to know.
Damn.
Really well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Gives you all the information, all the backstory that is the most important part.
Okay, so the film begins with a summary of the prehistoric of the Ring of Power. Long ago, 20 rings, yes, that's the epilogue that we're talking about. The creature Gollum discovered it and brought it to his cave. Then he lost it to the hobbit Bilbo Baggins, as mentioned in the epilogue. So the movie cuts to an image of the hobbits, peaceful Shire years later, where the wizard Gandalf has come to celebrate Bilbo's 111th birthday. See what I did there?
Yeah.
The party is an extravagant occasion with fireworks and revelry, and Bilbo entertains children with tales of his adventures. In the middle of a rambling speech, however, he puts on the ring, which makes him invisible, and runs into his house to pack his things and leave the Shire. I should probably note that there's a couple of fun scenes that I really like here, just before we get to the party, because this recap skipped straight to the party after the introduction of the wizard Gandalf. But I like the interaction with Frodo and Gandalf. It's really,
At the start,
it's really nice. It's a nice introduction to what their chemistry is already, because you can tell that they've got history together, but their chemistry is fully realized by the viewer straight away just by the way it's written, and that's credit to Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens.
Yeah, I actually remember this. I love the music in that scene too. The interaction, the music score there was really good.
Yeah. I think it goes
it's just
like
really friendly and chill.
It's
just like loops.
Yeah, that's the feed. Like
I also, when they meet and they're going along the path, you really get like a zoomed out shot of Hobbiton, and it's a really beautiful scene as well. It's like our first sort of introduction to almost Middle Earth. Like you get to see this scene of just absolute beauty of Hobbiton. It's a really nice way to introduce it.
It's stunning, eh? That place is still up as well. That Hobbiton place still exists. I think most people know that. It's like general knowledge now. And it's a tourist place now. It's in a town called Matamata, which is, it is in the region of Waikato, and the main city in Waikato is Hamilton. So, actually, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about the region. I don't know. I know it's somewhere there. Matamata is like not too far from Hamilton City. And you're right, man. Like the whole atmosphere, that world of Hobbiton already looks like something that you're like, oh, cool. This is really beautiful. This is nice. I want to be here, and everything is sort of lovey-dovey, and gentle. And it's a nice, almost juxtaposition to what we faced a little bit later.
Almost shows the innocence of all the hobbits, the blissful ignorance.
Yeah, the blissful ignorance. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I like what Elijah Wood says, or Frodo Baggins. He says, "You're late." And what does Gandalf say?
Oh, don't make me say it.
Go say it in Gandalf's voice.
How does it go exactly? I can't say it in Gandalf's voice.
A wizard is never late.
A wizard is never late. A wizard is never early.
No.
Wait. How
He says, a wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to.
I thought it went. He's never early either. He arrives precisely when he needs.
There is a line that he says.
Early.
There is a line where he says like before precisely when he means to, but it's not like I'm never early or something like that. I can't remember the exact line, but he eventually just says, he arrives precisely when he means to, and then they go, they're like,
the laugh, bro.
I'm out, not the laugh. And then he jumps onto him. It's actually really cool cutting as well. Really good editing here, is because it's Elijah Wood obviously standing on the bank, and then he giggles in hysteria. They're both a bit hysterical, and then he jumps on to Gandalf, and then the cut straight after that is one of the midgets. That's like the real life midget that plays the double of Frodo.
You can't call him that.
Oh yeah, this day and age we have to say something else, right? What do we say? Little people.
Little people.
Well, little people is the actual term of them.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, better stop there, otherwise we might get in trouble.
Work.
Yeah. Okay. So where were we? We were here. So the party happens. 111th birthday. He is invisible now because he's got the ring on, and then he appears back into his house. What's his house called again? Bag End. Yeah. So he appears back in Bag End. But I like the speech. I want to talk about the speech just prior to this scene. Going back to Bag End.
Speech before he disappears.
Yeah. Where he says, "Today is my 111th birthday," and everyone's like, "Yay!" And he says something like, "I don't know half of you half as well as I should know, and I do like half of you half as well as you deserve," or something like that.
Something along those lines.
It's so good, and they're all kind of like, "Huh?" And then that's when he gets a little bit sort of puzzled and troubled, and he grabs something in his pocket, and then Frodo sort of realizes that he's doing something a little bit dodgy. And then he's like, I'm saying I'm off now, and blah blah blah, and goodbye. And it's so abrupt, and everybody in the Shire is like, what? They're all sort of scrambling a little bit. They're wondering where he's gone, and Frodo Frodo steps up and he's wondering what happened. So
that scene in the books is really funny too, because he starts off like complimenting everybody and then just disses all of them. Like completely trash talks all of them after complimenting them all, and they're like, "Huh?"
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when he disappears in the book, Gandalf actually creates like an explosion to make it look like he explodes.
Really?
Yeah, so that everybody's like, it looks more like a magic trick sort of thing.
Oh, and maybe a nod to that, because I guess that probably wouldn't make sense for the character at this moment for the film.
Yeah.
But maybe a nod to that is when he does, is when the big dragon firework that happens.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little kind of homage to that.
It might be a nod. That's also a really fun way that they introduced Merry and Pippin.
That is very cool.
Their cheekiness.
Yeah, the cheekiness. And in the extended cut, there's a bit more of an introduction. Like the introduction with those two characters is a little bit longer. So we have Gandalf meets Bilbo back at his house and tells him he must give up the ring. Eventually, Bilbo agrees to entrust it to his nephew, Frodo. Gandalf senses that the ring is gaining power over Bilbo. We see a flash of Mordor and hooded horsemen, the ring wraiths, leave its gates. The Nazgul, the Black Riders. So many names for these things.
Yeah, they have like 3 or 4 names. Don't
ring wraiths, Black Riders, Nazgul, and
I think that might be it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. The scene shifts to Gandalf, who rushes to a library to sift through ancient scrolls as the ring wraiths begin to close in on Bilbo's house. Gandalf returns to Frodo and throws the ring into Bilbo's hearth. Mysterious letters appear on the ring's surface. Only then does Gandalf realize that the ring is actually Sauron's ring. Gandalf explains to Frodo that the ring and Sauron are one. He longs to find it, and it longs to find him. What does the ring say?
Oh, bro. You
have to say it in Elvish as well.
I can't say it in Elvish, man. Come on.
Okay, so the ring, I still remember it off by heart. Or at least I do.
I just remember the darkness binds them.
Yeah. It's the one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness, bind them.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I love that.
Was my
I
Gandalf
love that
voice.
line, bro.
Bind them.
Bind them.
What's interesting about this scene too is that we learn that Gandalf is someone that's not only powerful but also somebody that's fully realizes what his capabilities are if he was given this power. And this is great storytelling exposition for what the ring is and what the ring can do. Right? We also learn that, Bilbo, and we learn a lot about the hobbits in the scene. I think this is quite important. That the hobbits are these kind of, like you say, blissful, very safe,
very protected.
Very protected in their own little world of the Shire.
I like that sheltered, protected child or friend that you had when you were younger that knew nothing about.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's important for us to know this about the hobbits because when they're put in such terrible circumstances, it helps us build this sense of connection and emotion with them, which is not really the same as all the other characters that we meet. So I think that's pretty cool. And all the stuff that's done with Frodo, Bilbo, and Gandalf, all of this was filmed with this technique known as force perspective. I don't know if you've ever heard of that or might have come across it in the appendices or behind the scenes. But
explain it.
Basically, Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen, let's say they'll be in the same room filming at the same time, but then how did they make it look as if Elijah Wood is actually that short compared to Ian McKellen being that tall? Now, with force perspective, what they did was it was a positioning of the camera that made it look like the scale was like skewed or whatever. So it's kind of like
vastly different.
Yeah, it's kind of like trick photography, just simply based on physics, I suppose, or camera work and camera positioning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting.
It's pretty cool. Like, remember in the scene before that when we meet, when when Frodo and Gandalf meet for the first time and they're sitting in the carriage, they're actually sitting in the carriage but not next to each other. So Elijah Wood is a little bit forward while Gandalf is a little bit behind.
And
that's force perspective, so it makes it look like Gandalf is much larger than. Pretty cool way. And they do a little bit of that inside the house, with a mixture of visual effects and green screen too, right? So there's some scenes where Gandalf's walking around actually by himself in a room, and then they sort of composite Bilbo or Frodo in the scene a little bit later. Okay, so only then does Gandalf realize the ring is actually Sauron's ring. Yes, Gandalf explains to Frodo that the ring and Sauron are one. Actually went through this bit already. The ring must leave the Shire, or it will endanger all the hobbits. Gandalf cannot take it himself, since as a wizard, he will wield too much power with the ring.
This was actually really well conveyed by Ian McKellen in that scene where Frodo first walks in and sees the ring on the ground. I think that's right after that scene that Bilbo leaves.
Yeah, pretty much. He comes back and he says the famous meme words, "Is it secret? Is it safe?"
Yeah.
Wait, the first time he says it, I think he says, "Keep it safe, keep it secret," and then he reverses it when he comes back.
Yeah.
Is it secret? Is it safe? Something like that.
Yeah.
Seems some memes about that
something
shit
like
now.
that.
Just there's a lot of like very
There's so many Lord of the Rings memes.
yeah.
I can't keep up with all of them sometimes. Not gonna lie.
I was watching a reaction of somebody watching Lord of the Rings on YouTube, and they were they kept bringing up the memes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know there was that many memes.
Yeah, I mean, when you haven't watched it before and you're watching it for the first time, you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't know this meme was from Lord of the Rings.
Well, awful way to take you out of the movie, though.
Yeah, I know, right? In this scene, like in McKellen, he constantly mutters like "precious" and really shows the audience how affected. I don't know if Gandalf is a human, but he's a man. Let's just call him a man, right?
He's a wizard, and he's a certain species. Yeah. Like I can't remember the species. We learn about the species. Oh, actually, this is going to be a spoiler. I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah, we'll just call him a man for now. He's a man type.
He's like I think the wizard species he comes from is called Even Star. No, actually, I don't know.
Something.
But we learn about the species of Gandalf, and spoiler alert: the Rings of Power.
Oh, really?
It's kind of a spoiler, kind of not. But maybe it's a spoiler for you because I don't know if you're supposed to know if that's Gandalf.
Yeah. Oh no, I know from the books. They talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it shows you how affected a human can be or a man can be by the ring.
Yeah.
And it shows us how it
just shows us how powerful the ring is.
It shows you how little hobbits are affected compared to man, elves, and dwarves, I think.
Yeah, and I think that was the point, is to show the contrast between all those different types of species, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And the ring in the wrong hands would reap certain grave consequences compared to like the ring being in sort of quote unquote the right hands, even though it shouldn't be in the right hands. So I think the whole point of the ring and what the writers and even J.R. Tolkien is trying to describe here is that it's not the ring per se that's causing this, but it's actually what the ring is capable to do, which is bring out the worst in people, right? The more power you give somebody, the worse outcome you're gonna get. I think that's kind of what they're trying to say here.
Yeah. It's just a really good scene. Ian McKellen
he kills it.
Plays it perfectly. He kills it in that scene. Yeah,
that's how he became Magneto. Gandalf explains that if Frodo puts on the ring, it will draw Sauron's agents to it. Suddenly, Gandalf discovers that Frodo's friend, Sam, has been hiding outside and listening to Gandalf and Frodo. At first, Gandalf is furious at Sam's eavesdropping. "I ain't dropping no eaves, sir." He's like, "What did you hear? What did you hear?
Line.
Speak! I didn't hear anything, sir. I only heard something about elves and what do you say?" He's like, elves and creatures and something about the end of the world. He's so honest, and this is also brilliant scripting because they managed to give us this rapid introduction of Sam and his innocence and his care. You know, all these kind of character traits that we then develop in the films later on. All in this one moment in this confrontation between him and Gandalf. It's freaking brilliant.
Really, really quick, well done introduction to Sam's personality.
Yeah, it's freaking amazing.
And loyalty.
And loyalty,
Yeah.
I ain't jumping no Eve, sir.
Oh, he's got some pearls.
He's got some pearls, yeah. But then he recruits Sam to be Frodo's travel partner and protector. So Sam and Frodo leave Bilbo's house because now they all of a sudden have this burden to take the ring away from the Shire. And remember, this is the main objective just for this part here. We don't actually get the real objective for Frodo and Sam in the later stories and the later films until even past the past the midpoint of the film. So at this stage, their whole job is just to get the ring away from Shire. And then
that's their mission.
Yeah, and then meet Gandalf at some point in time a little bit later on, which you learn after the scene.
At Bree.
At Bree, yes. So Sam and Frodo leave Bilbo's house, and in very little time they have ventured further from the Shire than ever before. And one of Sam's nice lines is,
This is a beautiful
It's a great moment.
It's beautiful.
I'm already getting chills thinking about this.
Yeah.
Where Frodo is walking, and then Sam stops. He's like, "What's the matter, Sam?" He's like,
"Yeah,
this is the first time." Oh, I don't even know how to say. I'm going to butcher it completely.
He says something about, "This is the furthest I've been away from."
He's like, "I realize this is the furthest I've ever been away from the Shire."
Yeah.
And then Frodo walks up to him, puts his arm over his shoulder, and he's like, I don't know what he said, but he comforts him, and he says,
actually, this in a recap I watched today, he said something about, it was actually quite depressing from what the guy said. He said, "Suck it up, there's a lot further to go," or something along those lines. Break it down.
Well, I mean, you can probably interpret it that way. Essentially, that's what Frodo.
Yeah, it's not what he says. It can be interpreted.
Yeah, like he's not wrong. Like essentially, Frodo's telling him, suck it up. Like we've got a long way to go. But I think he does say something like, "We've got a long way to go." Let's kind of keep going. But it is a beautiful moment, and it's sort of shot at the right time. Like the sun is like almost going down, and it's a really nice serene color, and it's a nice moment. I like it.
It almost felt like the journey really started there.
Yeah,
like when he said those words, that's when it felt like the mission, or not so much the mission, but the journey really started.
I wonder how far they were from the Shire. I'm interested.
The furthest they've ever been.
100 kilometers.
Can't imagine that they ventured that far.
Merry and Pippin, two mischievous hobbits who are fleeing a farmer from whom they've stolen, and encounter Sam and Bilbo. They run into them like through the corn, bump to them. Sam and Bilbo.
Tom Bombadil, I think it was. No,
Tom Bombadil was not even in the films, and that was one of the big controversies for a lot of fans.
Really?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with the wrong
you're good.
name.
Just don't do it again.
Farmer Maggot, that was his name.
Oh yeah, you got the maggots crop, doesn't he say that? I think Sam says, "You have stolen the maggots crop," or something like that.
Yeah.
So both of them end up joining the party, and now it's 4 hobbits on a little mission to take the ring to some place or whatever to meet Gandalf a little bit later. We cut to the ring race ride by, and the hobbits narrowly escape detection. Frodo is tempted to put on the ring, but Sam stops him. This urge is Frodo's first insight into the power and temptation of the ring. That's actually a good point. I totally forgot about that.
He's never really been tempted before to use it. He's never been in real danger.
He's never been in danger to use it, yeah.
To use it.
Yeah. But actually, what I wanted to say, because I'm pretty sure it's before the scene, but we kind of glossed over it with this recap. The first time that we see the Wraith, other than it coming out of the gates of Mordor or something, presumably, when it arrives in the Shire and it comes across that first hobbit, that is a cool scene.
In the books, that's the Gaffer. That's Samwise's dad. But I don't know if it's the same person.
No, it's not his dad in the film, or at least they don't tell us it's his dad.
They don't really tell you. Yeah,
but it's a fellow Kiwi actor, by the way.
Oh, really?
I can't remember his name.
Very fun.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like the keeper, or I don't know, he's like one of the first people at the start of the Shire, if there was like a gate or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just love the simple, like 2 or 3 words. No, just the one word. No, 2 words. 2 words that the ring race says. and he says, "What does he say? Baggins, Shire." I think is what he says. And then the guy says, he's like he's so petrified. He's just completely like scared about what's about to happen to him. And then he says, like you have to go to Baggin. Oh no, oh man, I can't even remember what he says. But he's basically saying you got to go to Baggin. You got to go to Shire and Baggin. Like it's further down the road.
Like Lord of the Rings is a really hard movie to remember quote by quote, just because of how long.
Yeah, I know. But I just wanted to mention that scene because it's such a cool scene. It really establishes like the threat and the danger.
It really shows the audience how terrifying
the ring race is.
Ring race are. Yeah, really sent a chill down your spine when you see him.
So the hobbits arrive at the town of Bree, and enter the inn known as the Prancing Pony, where they are supposed to meet Gandalf, but the wizard isn't there because at this point of the film, Gandalf goes to do a little bit more research at the Saruman University, and then finds out that he's actually at the wrong place. So the first time we meet Saruman, he comes down the stairs from Isengard, and they have this like nice little encounter, as like Shakespearean actors would normally do. It's very like big words, and they talk very deep like this. And then they go up into the Tower of Isengard, and then Gandalf is trying to tell him what's happened and the ring that he's found and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a big reveal. I mean, I don't know if it's a big reveal, but
I think it's
maybe it's a big reveal for those who don't know the stories very well, like myself. Yeah. You think that this guy's an ally, but he's actually a foe. And when that reveal happens, it's kind of like, oh my god, another powerful wizard that's actually being succumbed to the powers of evil, or he's kind of in this mentality of like, look, if we can't beat them, join them type thing.
Yeah, we can't beat them, join them. It's almost a Darth Vader-esque sort of thing. It's like, join me and we should...
Yeah. It's very similar to that. It's kind of like this, join the Empire and we can rule together. Yeah. That's the kind of moment that they have here. But he hasn't even attempted to battle Sauron, so it's not really like a can't beat them, join me. He hasn't even tried. Exactly. He's just been a pussy and he's like, I'm just going to join Sauron.
Bitch.
Yeah, so that's the reason why he's not here at Bree to meet the hobbits as he promised, and so something fishy is going on, right? The ring accidentally slips into Frodo's finger because he slips up, altering the ring race to his whereabouts. And this is the first time that we learn that the ring race have a direct connection to the rings.
Yeah.
We knew that they had a connection to the rings, but this was getting even deeper. We're getting deeper in those layers of how involved they are with the rings.
We sort of knew that they could sense the ring before.
Yeah.
Like, sense where it was, but this really shows us that they...
Because now they have a big screen.
It's connected. That sound just says... Do you know how that shriek was made?
I do, yeah.
Through plastic cups, or was it plastic cups?
No. It's that scream is I'm trying to think of the word. It's like not equalize, but it's using a lot of sound effects. Let's say they use a lot of sound effects that are from the original person that done the scream, which is Fran Walsh.
I quickly researched it today because I was interested. It said something about 2 plastic cups. Maybe
she shouted in 2 plastic cups. I don't know, but it's actually Fran Walsh, one of the writers. Yeah, It's her scream, and then they just added some sound effects to it. That's not actually how she sounds.
Really?
Imagine that.
Kind of terrifying.
Imagine she just pulls that out in a tunnel or something. Oh my god.
That'd be like a party trick. How to get everybody to go home early.
Yeah. The whereabouts, and a ranger named Strider introduces himself to the group of hobbits and urges them to be more careful. The race arrive at the hotel, but the hobbits, thanks to Strider, are all hidden, or are well hidden. Strider explains to them that the race were formerly the 9 human kings who had the 9 human rings. They are hunting the ring because finding it is the only way they can come back to life. So yeah, the 9,
it's kind of crazy.
And the main person of the 9 is called the Witch King, and the Witch King here when you see him, like this is like jumping a little bit further, a little bit later when they're on Weathertop or something. I think it's called Weathertop. You know, where the hobbits are putting up a fire, but then Frodo says, "Put out the fire, you idiots!"
Yeah.
The Witch King is the one that stabs Frodo, and so that Witch King is Shane Rungy.
Oh,
yeah, who was on the conversation?
You got to talk to the Witch King today.
Talk to the Witch King today. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, like back at this hotel. They create a bit of a diversion through Aragorn. Oh, sorry, he's not Aragorn yet. Future spoilers. Strider creates a bit of a diversion. The Ringwraiths go in. They start stabbing the hell out of these beds, and you as the audience member at the time, you're like, "Oh my god, yeah, the hobbits are." I actually kind of fell for it the first time I saw it. I was like, "Oh my god, are they actually going to kill the hobbits here?" And maybe the ends. Maybe the only one that survives is like Frodo or something. I was like, oh my god, they're actually going to kill the hobbits here and Frodo's going to escape or something. That's kind of the scenario I was putting together in my head. Yeah. But then it was nice sort of like trick editing and the magic of movie making. We jump back to where they are, the hotel room. And then when they realize that it's not the hobbits, they lift up the sheets and they do the scream. Well, that was pretty good.
I don't know, man.
And then they asked Strider, like, what are they? And he's like, they were once men. And then that just reminds me of the Instagram reel that I sent you a while ago. We can't talk about that. We'll get cancelled. Anyway.
It's worth it. No.
Anyway. Meanwhile, Gandalf has approached another wizard, Saruman, for counsel. Okay, so this is what we're talking about before. Saruman already knows about the ring and Sauron's attempts to regain power. He declares that Mordor cannot be defeated, and the two wizards must join with Sauron. Gandalf protests, and the wizards battle. Oh my god, this battle is insane! Yeah,
this is cool. This is a cool scene.
And it's like, and this is what I was coming back. This is what I want to come back to what I was saying before. Getting such epic actors like Ian McKellen and freaking Christopher Lee. Because can you imagine anybody else trying to battle as a wizard? Like, how do you even act that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you pull that off? And these guys pull it off in ways that are just way beyond what our expectations would be. It's like, okay, two wizards. Can you imagine what the direction is from Peter Jackson? He's like, all right, you're a wizard. You guys have to fight, but not with your bare hands. You have to fight with your staffs.
Can you imagine what that would have looked like without all the special effects while they're actually acting?
Yeah, but he's like the first one to attack is Saruman, right? He lifts up the staff and he goes, "Ooh!" And I'm like, wow, that's perfect acting.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone else attempting to do that and pull it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, he just does it so well.
He does it incredibly well. So they have their little battle, and then he puts Gandalf into a backspin. And he sends him all the way to the top of the tower, and then that's kind of like the end of the battle. You can see some blood streaks on both of them, especially Gandalf looks much more beat up than Saruman, but Saruman's also got like some blood coming down his cheeks, which is pretty cool. Good visual effects, or good makeup effects, I should say.
Kind of being trapped.
Yeah. Saruman wins and imprisons Gandalf atop Saruman's giant tower in Isengard called Orthanc. I didn't even know it was called that.
Yeah, Orthanc.
At his tower, Saruman is constructing a terrifying army with the intention of waging war on Middle-earth. A butterfly rouses Gandalf and takes a message from him. A giant eagle comes in and saves him. Meanwhile, Strider and the hobbits head for Rivendell, home of the elves. They stop at a hill called Weathertop. Okay, yeah, I was right. It's called Weathertop. Yeah. Where Strider hands the hobbits weapons and suggests they make camp for the night. The hobbits foolishly light a fire at their campsite, and the Ringwraiths spot them.
Blissful ignorance.
I mean, it's we shouldn't say it's the hobbits because it's only 3 of them that do it, and they're all kind of enjoying the fire. Whereas Bilbo Frodo is the one that's a bit more level-headed and he understands the situation, and he's the one that tells them, "Put it out, you idiots! Put it out, you idiots!" And then you hear the ring wraiths do their scream again. So
I just love that food, man. They got to have their 6-second breakfast.
Their second breakfast, or their second dinner because it's nighttime at this point. The ring wraiths stab Frodo. That is, AKA Shane Rungy, who stabs Frodo. But Strider fights them off and saves Frodo's life. Arwen, an elf princess, finds the party and hurries to Rivendell with Frodo. Barely evading the wraiths, Frodo is cured and wakes up and discover Gandalf by his side. Okay, before we get to the Rivendell part, because we're slowly getting to the Rivendell part, this is getting beyond sort of the midpoint of the film. I want to talk about Arwen and the horse riding here. Freaking one of the coolest shots in the entire trilogy was the Arwen holding really kind of haunted, almost like exorcist type Frodo on the front of the horse, riding through, I don't know where that is, it must be in Queenstown, not Queenstown, but it must be in the South Island somewhere, and it's just such an epic shot. Like, the way they shot that, it was all on like wires and forward drives, and what I think there might have been 4 or 5 cameras that were going on simultaneously, and they just kept shooting. It's freaking amazing to watch on screen.
It's good cinematography. Good cinematography.
It's great cinematography. Just awesome camera work, and kudos to the camera crew that put it together. The choreography of everything was really well done. The final edit and its cut was perfect. I just loved it. My only nitpick about it is that there are some not close-ups, but there are some shots where I'm kind of like, oh, that's not Arwen. Like, it's Arwen. I mean, like, I should say that's not Liv Tyler. Like, it's quite obvious if you go back and watch it. I don't know if you picked up on it, but there's
I don't think I did. Yeah,
there's a couple of shots where I'm like, oh, that's actually not Liv Tyler. I'm like, I hate that I saw that, but that's okay. It's not taking me out of the movie.
Small fault.
It's a small fault. Yeah. I mean, it's a stunt person, but so it's more of a nitpick and a criticism on the camera work here, or maybe even the editing. I think they should have cut some certain things out, but I don't know what it's like in the editing room at this point, right? Who knows what kind of shots that they had to work with as editors. I can imagine that's a very, very tough process, but yeah, that was my only sort of nitpick of the scene. Otherwise, the scene is incredibly beautiful, well choreographed, and well directed. And then she comes across like the river or something, like the rapids, something. This was really, really cool. And we learned that the ring wraiths are pretty scared of water. And then she's like standing on the other side, and she says, "If you want him, come and claim him." Yeah. So, good lines. So many of these good lines. And then the ring wraiths start to walk across the water. I was like, oh, okay, I guess they're not that afraid of water. Maybe they're initially afraid of water, but then test it, try and take a risk, and then surely enough they can go through it. And then she starts chanting, I don't know. She's speaking Elvish. She's spitting Elvish. And then what?
Do you remember earlier in the movie when they jump onto the raft?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you kind of get the gist that they're scared of water from
that. Yeah, that's the first part. Yeah,
and then it's kind of backed up by this, but then they walk through the water.
They walk through the water, but I think it's because they observe that she goes over water with the horse as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same. But it's a little bit different because they see a demonstration of a horse going over the water, so they try and take a risk, and sure enough, they can go in the water. But then they're sort of trapped by raging white horses in the form of water. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Tolkien actually played with the idea of dark spirits, because they're spirits, sort of being scared of water, like they can't cross water originally, at all. But then he decided to pull out of it because it wouldn't actually make sense. Okay. Because in Middle Earth, to get to the Shire, they would have had to have gone over 3 or 4 rivers. So it doesn't really make sense for them to be terrified of water.
Oh, okay. But I guess this is the only river we see, at least in this film.
Yeah, at this point, but the layout of Middle Earth would involve them having to go over multiple rivers.
Man, they could have been picked up by the Nazgul. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so where are we? Arwen, Elf Princess, yes, finds party, hurries in Rivendell with Frodo and Billy evading the race. Frodo is cured and wakes up to discover Gandalf by his side. Bilbo, who has aged significantly, which is another thing that we learn about the ring, is that it slows down aging, not through dialogue exposition, but just through the mere fact that, oh wait, maybe they do mention anything about aging from the ring, right? Like slowing down aging?
I think it's sort of implied, because it's implied that Bilbo living to 111 is super uncommon.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's a good implication, and there's no sort of like hardcore, obvious exposition or anything, which is quite good. Bilbo, who's aged significantly, is also at Rivendell, having just completed the book of his adventures, There and Back Again, A Hobbit's Tale. Elrond, the king of the elves and Arwen's father, tells Gandalf that the ring cannot stay in Rivendell, but must go further. Pessimistic about the future of Middle-earth, Elrond claims that the time of the elves is over. The dwarves are too selfish to help, and men are weak. The ring survives because of Isildur's weakness. Moreover, the line of human kings is broken, though the heir of Gondor, who has a chosen exile, can reunite them. And this is what I love about the way this whole film is written. The structure of this film and its writing is pitch perfect, because if they didn't have the epilogue, right, the explanation of how the ring became a thing, who were the people involved, who Isildur was, right, the collapse of society essentially is what they're saying. You know, how elves, men, and dwarves or whatever, you know, they all sort of departed, they went their own ways, and they have become sort of a broken, weak, I guess, force that would have to come across any type of adversary. If we didn't know that in the epilogue, then this stuff wouldn't really make any sense. It would just be a bunch of words from some really good-looking characters, and you're kind of like, okay, well, why are you guys weak then? You know, why are men weak?
Yeah.
So that epilogue exposition was pretty important for this scene.
Yeah, it really backs it up well.
The ring survives Isildur's weakness. Yes, we see that. Shortly after this declaration, we learn that Strider's true name is Aragorn, son of Arathorn?
Arathorn, yeah.
Did you say Arathorn? Such an Aussie. Arathorn.
Arathorn.
Son of Arathorn, mate.
Imagine if you said it like that. Gandalf says it like that. Oh my god,
yeah.
Aragorn, son of Arathorn, mate!
Yeah, I would just actually leave the theatre.
Wow.
And that he is the heir of Gondor. We also learn that Aragorn and Arwen are in love and have been for many years. However, this love requires that Arwen sacrifice her immortality, one of their chief attributes as elves. Arwen convenes a meeting known as the Council of... What's it called? Council of the Ring?
Council of the Ring, yeah.
Arwen convenes a meeting and announces that the races must come together and defeat Mordor once and for all. Frodo presents the ring. Arwen insists that it must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom, where it was made. There is some disagreement.
Is this where Boromir says his famous line?
His famous meme line. I think this is the first meme that ever came out of Lord of the Rings, surely, right? One does not simply
walk into Mordor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
We're going to ban the memes from this podcast. There is some good disagreement as to who will undertake this arduous task, and eventually Frodo emerges. Others step forward to accompany Frodo, forming a Fellowship of the Ring. I like how Frodo steps up to this. I like how this whole scene is directed, where everybody's arguing, people are having strong opinions about who should be taking the ring or what should happen to the ring. Gimli stupidly tries to destroy the ring and then just put him back in his place. It's kind of like, dude, what are you up to? And then
classic Gimli.
And that's also something we learn about the character of Gimli, is that he's a little bit ignorant. And in amongst all this arguing and all that kind of stuff, you hear this small, innocent voice, and Gandalf picks it up straight away. And I love the shot on Gandalf's reaction when he says, "I will take it. I will take the ring," and then it's a slow blinking reaction, kind of this emotional, deep sort of sadness. But yeah, it's kind of deep sadness from Gandalf.
Do you think it's deep sadness because he realizes that Frodo might not survive this?
It's kind of,
or it's going to be a dangerous task?
Maybe it's not deep sadness, but it's the kind of reaction like, "Oh, I really wish you didn't say this, but I know that you're the right person to take it." It's that kind of reaction. Right,
yeah,
because he knows that hobbits are halflings and they are the most innocent types of people. And if they were given this power, not as affected. If they were given this power, they'll be the ones, if anyone, that could hold up to the temptation. So that's a pretty cool part. And then everybody sort of chimes in and says, "Hey, yeah, well, if the hobbit's going to take it, I feel a little bit shit now, so maybe I should offer my services."
If by my life or death I can protect you, I will. You have my sword.
Oh, that was Aragorn.
And you have my bow.
Oh, damn, I got chills.
And my axe. You carry the fate of us all, little one. If this is indeed the will of the council, then Gondor will see it done.
That was Boromir. He was the last one.
I think so. Yeah, Boromir's the last one.
Epic lines, So epic.
So good.
And you have my bow and my axe.
And you have my bow.
Yeah, that's what he says. You have my bow. It's such an epic. Just an epic little recruitment of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, it is. And then I think Merry and Pippin jump in and say they want to go as well, and that's how the Nine are created.
Yep. The Merry and Pippin,
the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. Pretty much, they jump in and then they interrupt and say, "Hey, we're not going anywhere without, or you're not going anywhere without us, or whatever." And then Sam jumps in as well. And then Elrond says his famous lines and there you have it. We have the Fellowship of the Ring, and then the music sort of gets into a crescendo, and then it comes on.
He says 9 companions.
9 companions.
It shall so be it.
And so be it.
Fellowship of the Ring.
You shall be known as the Fellowship of the Ring. I think that was it.
Great Hugo Weaving voice.
I know, man. I should be an actor. So the Fellowship sets off from Rivendell, and I love the way that when they walk out of Rivendell, they're going down the long pathway. They get out of the gate of Rivendell, and then it gets into about 3 or 5 large establishing shots of all the locations that they're traveling through, and it's like New Zealand, New Zealand, New Zealand. Go to this place.
Real quick, can we just talk about the shot of Rivendell?
Yeah.
I can't remember if you see it as they're walking in, or
we see it both walking in and also leaving Rivendell.
It's just so
incredible
nice.
artistry.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. It's such a beautiful shot.
Yeah, it's incredible artistry. A lot of that artwork just is massive credit to John Howe and Alan Lee, the two illustrators, the illustrators.
Yeah.
I
think it might be one of the best shots in that movie, in the first movie, in terms of just showing the beauty of Middle Earth.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also just going back to that world building thing that we're talking about, is that we go to different locations and they feel like their own locations. They don't feel like they're all kind of same. And it's got a sense of identity. It's got a sense of feeling, which is really cool. So when you're in Rivendell, you feel like it's like some kind of kingdom of ours, or like very elegant people, and it's portrayed so well. So when we leave that, they go out and they go on a tour around South Island, pretty much from there, and it's got all these beautiful shots. And then we get the famous, it's a tourist ad. We get this famous shot of the Fellowship of the Ring one by one. It's so cool. Some people say it's a little bit cheesy, but yeah, I can see that it's a little bit cheesy, but it's just so great. It's so good. I eat it up. It's not.
It's allowed to be. It's allowed to be cheesy.
Yeah, I think it's earned its place on doing things like this, like a slow mo type shot, and it's got the classic one by one. They're walking up. It's great. I used it for my Instagram reel promotion.
Yes, you did. I saw that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So
it's pretty iconic too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely an iconic.
I think it was one of the main scenes that people picked out from the trailer, being like, "Oh yeah, that was that awesome shot of the characters walking over." Yeah. Okay, so we were here. Saruman causes an avalanche Oh no, wait. Oh yeah, sorry. Fellowship sets off from Rivendell. Saruman causes an avalanche of snow to block the group's attempt to cross the pass of Caradus. The pass of Caradus? Caradras. I can't remember how Gandalf says it. I'm trying to remember how he pronounces it. I think it's
Caradras. I think it's Caradras.
Okay.
I think that's how Andy Serkis says it in the books.
Okay.
Caradras. Yeah.
And they decide to enter the realm of the dwarves, where the mines of Moria. Inside Moria. And how do they get into Moria? The mines of Moria.
You go through the
what's the what's the password?
What was the password?
Speak friend and enter.
Yeah, don't they say friend or something?
They have to say it in Elvish. And he says Mella.
Yeah, Merlot. Yeah, that's right.
Is he saying Merlot?
And that's where we get
Is he saying Merlot like the wine Merlot?
I was thinking Merlot like the cafe.
Oh no, that's an awful franchise. Why would you bring that up?
I have a friend who works for them, and she'll be sad.
Yeah, tell her to quit. Tell her to come work for us.
That's where you get the famous line of "full of a took."
Full of a took, working at Merlot Cafe. So we get into Moria, right? The party discovers that all the dwarves have been killed, and one of Gimli's reactions is "Whoa!" It's supposed to be
he's upset.
Yeah, his kind of perilous reaction to the dead dwarves.
When they're walking in there, do we know that that's a dwarvish place? Don't we? Like
I don't think so. I don't think we know that this is. No, yeah, we don't, because Legolas says the line, this is not a mine, this is a tomb. And then we discover like all the dwarves that have died over the centuries, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't a mine, this is a tomb. And so he picks up, Legolas picks up an arrow, and he inspects the arrow, and he sees that it's a goblin arrow, because then he says, goblins. It's like,
cool. That's right.
Nice little line discovery there. Okay, so the dwarves have been killed, and soon the Fellowship is surrounded by an army of orcs, inhuman creatures that are also brutal, ruthless warriors. The orcs disperse, however, the approach of a Balrog, a demonic creature from the underworld.
Yes.
This creature is freaking amazing, man. The way they designed this. And the visual effects, you even watch it in the 21st century, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's so good.
Come on. That is crazy to me.
Real quick, sorry. Can we just go back a little bit to the Moria? Are we still talking about the fight scene?
Yeah, we're still in the mines of Moria.
Yeah. But are you quickly going on to the Balrog? Sorry.
No, not yet. Almost.
No, okay, sorry. Continue.
Well, I did want to say that, coming across the orcs now and how incredible they look from a design perspective. This was all from the brilliant work of the Gino Acevedo and his team. And we get to see this is the first time we see orcs, I'm sure. Right? Yeah.
Yes. Up close, at least.
Yeah, okay. So Gandalf stays behind to battle the Balrog, which he sends collapsing to the depths of the mines. However, as the Balrog falls, it grabs a hold of Gandalf's legs and drags the wizard. Okay, wait. This is this is the Balrog one. Okay, we'll go back. We'll go back to like the room. I don't even know what the name of the room is, like the throne room or something.
The tomb.
Yeah, the tomb.
I wanted to quickly mention one of the funniest parts of this fight scene is Sam running around with frying pans hitting the orcs.
Oh yeah, good old Sam. He's carrying frying pans the entire trilogy, dude.
Yeah, and he hits a couple and he goes, I think I'm getting the hang of this. It's just such a Sam thing to do.
Yeah.
He's throughout this movie, you see him go up against people or foes. Like he's got so much bravery. Yeah. He's so brave. He goes up against like Aragorn when they first meet him, and they think he's a bad guy and he threatens him. He goes up against the orcs like it's nothing. Like he's just got so much bravery. With frying pans, man.
The dude is like he's the kind of heroism. Well, he has the spirit of heroism that all of us should try and employ as some stage of our life.
Yeah,
but he's a G, man. Like, it's incredible the things that we learn about him,
and he's humble.
Yeah, and he's incredibly humble. And it's awesome how we learn so much about all of these characters, not just Sam, in the Mines of Moria, because they're faced with an adversary for the first time. And this is kind of this is the first time they're going to either work as a team or they don't. And what I like about it is that they're not really a team. They don't really know how to team up and do much stuff together. I think the only kind of team up stuff that really happens is probably maybe between Aragorn and Legolas, maybe. And you would kind of expect that because they're experienced warriors and they're fighters.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of them, they're not fighters. They're just a bunch of dudes that just care enough about each other. So I like how it's not squeaky clean, pitch perfect choreography. Everybody's kind of fumbling except for the likes of Aragorn and I guess even Gimli as well.
Legolas does some really cool. You can just see how skilled of a warrior Legolas is.
Oh yeah,
it's a good introduction.
Yeah, we see his.
He runs up the chain and then stabs the trolls in the face and stuff with the arrows. You know.
Yeah, and he's doing like bullseye arrow throwing, like in the first part when the doors are shut, before it gets like busted down by the orcs, and then later that troll comes in. Remember the troll?
Yes,
troll comes in.
Yeah, and that's the one that the troll tries to hit him with a chain, and then he runs up the chain and shoots the troll in the face a few times with arrows.
It's like really three arrows or something. I think it's the same three arrows that he uses to. Actually, no. Future spoiler.
Future. It's a really good scene. Shows you everyone's skill.
Very, very good scene. So and then later we get the Balrog scene where they go into the, I guess, close towards the exit of the Mines of Moria. We're in those like crazy staircases where there's some kind of hairy, dodgy looking rotoscoping / composition. This is like effects being composed on top of each other. So sometimes they look a little bit dodgy today. But it's not a lot of them. I think there's only like one or two shots where it's like super dodgy. You're like, oh, that's very rough. But it's very quick, and they're getting chased by this Balrog, and then they're jumping from like one staircase to another, and all of this is like building up to this disastrous moment and the quick exit of Gandalf the Grey. And for someone like me,
the shock exit.
Yeah, the shock exit as well. And for someone like me who'd never read the books, I was like, what the fuck? They killed Gandalf?
Yeah, they just got this Ian McKellen dude to come play Gandalf for like half a movie.
It was wild, man. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they killed Gandalf. Because I knew Ian McKellen from X-Men.
Yeah, of course.
Because X-Men came out the year before Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy's a good actor, and now he's playing Gandalf, and he's an awesome character as Gandalf, and then they just kill him in the Balrog scene, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's not even one of those like trick fake deaths in a film, because the film ends with Gandalf still dead. So I waited a whole year later thinking, oh my god, we've got rid of Gandalf now. Who's going to be dead?
And he remained dead.
He remained dead.
Yep, for the whole 3 movies.
Exactly. Didn't know anything about Two Towers or Return of the King. So we had that slow motion scene right with Frodo Baggins and Gandalf and Frodo. This is like Elijah Wood's brilliant acting too. With his scream is chilling.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's do it.
No, man, it's such a good scream. It's one of those good screams that you wish was a good scream for freaking Anakin in Episode 3. I hate to say it.
Yeah. That's a good shot.
Yeah, so he screams, and then Gandalf falls in slow motion down the pit of despair, and no coming back from him. And then it's all slow motion up until we get to outside of the Mines of Moria, and everybody's just crying their ass out. Well, not everybody; it's just the hobbits that are crying.
The whole. To be fair, this is the first time that they've really had somebody reasonably close to them die. The other guys, you can see their warriorness in this moment too, because they just kind of, brush it off for now. Yeah, they're like, we've got more important things at hand. Like we haven't got time to.
Well, it's mostly, I guess, Aragorn. They all care, but there's obviously certain leaders and
Yeah.
certain people that have experience and the loss and the events of like losing somebody. And he realizes like what's more important is that we need to get out of here, which is what he says to Legolas. I think he says, Legolas, get them up. We need to go. Or maybe he says to Boromir. I think he says to Legolas.
No, well, Boromir says, let them, like they've just lost someone, let them
Yeah, he's like, let them all, for pity's sake.
Yeah.
And he's like, by nightfall, these lands will be swarmed with orcs or something like that. That's what he says.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a devastating moment, and I like the way that the hobbits are portrayed here with their emotion. And you can also see a bit of a heartache from Legolas too. You know, he's also feeling that too. But obviously, those guys are much more experienced and have they have more to worry about for the greater good or for the safety of the team. So where are we? Coming to a forest? Yeah. Coming to a forest. The Sylvan Owls, is that how you say it? Or Sylvan? Yeah, coming to a forest. The Sylvan Owls, led by Galadriel, the Lady of Woods, meet the Fellowship. That evening, the Lady and Frodo speak in private. She's a bit of a creeper. She's like, I know what you're thinking, Frodo. with her beamy eyes.
Is this? Do we know her name yet?
Galadriel, yeah.
This is Galadriel, yeah? Yeah.
She asks him to look into a mirror, which is a basin of water. Not a mirror, a basin of water. And tell her what he sees. He sees visions of the Shire destroyed, of his companions surrounded by orcs, and of the huge fiery eye of Sauron. The lady tells him he has seen visions of what will happen if his mission fails. She warns him that the Fellowship is breaking, and that one by one the ring will destroy them all. Oof, yeah. Some heavy lines. When you think that these poor hobbits couldn't go through any more worse things, and she says, the ring's going to destroy you.
It's not getting better.
Yeah, you should actually do something with the ring now or whatever, or give it away, or give it to me.
Yeah.
She warns him that the Fellowship is breaking. Frodo doubts his ability to accomplish this task on his own, but she says that as the ring bearer, he is already alone. Pretty heavy stuff. Man's like 3 foot tall, man. Jeez, go easy on him. If he does not accomplish the task, no one will. The lady encourages Frodo and gives him a parting gift, the Star of Lights that will illuminate his path when all other lights go out. Do you remember what the light is called?
I can't remember.
The Light of Elendil.
That's right, yeah.
And Elendil is one of the ancestors of Aragorn, right? I think.
Are you thinking of a song?
No, like before Isildur. I think maybe. The ancestor, I guess, of Isildur, I think, is Elendil. I don't know.
Well,
the Lord of the Rings fans listening to this podcast are tearing their ears out.
Probably. Yeah, legit. Sorry, guys. We're
movie people, right? We're not book people. So the next day, the Fellowship departs in boats down the river. There we go, down the river. Meanwhile, Saruman has dispatched the Uruk-hai, unusually large and powerful creatures whose sole mission is to destroy the world of men. After the party, with the instructions to kill everyone but bring the hobbits back alive. I love how like when the Uruk-hai, they as in like Saruman gives birth. Oh no, that's a weird way of saying it. Anyway, the Uruk-hai are birthed into the world, into Middle Earth. Yeah. And I remember seeing a meme. I know I said we shouldn't talk about memes, but I remember this is a good meme. It was like, what happens when rugby players get recruited and Saruman is like the coach? And like the rugby players are like, they said it's Pacific Island or Maori people getting recruited to rugby. And the funny thing about that is that the people playing Uruk-hai are Maori and Pacific Island. Oh, that's gold. Funny. That is gold. Okay, so after docking on dry land, Frodo wanders off and Boromir follows. Frodo is determined to go off alone, but Boromir wants the ring. He is about to attack Frodo for when Frodo puts on the ring and disappears. And then Boromir causes a fit, and he's like, it becomes a little bit apologetic, and he says, "Oh, Frodo?
He starts crying.
Frodo!" Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what he says.
He gets really upset and apologetic.
Yeah, because he has a moment of realization. He realizes that he is super weak and is heavily tempted by the ring, but he's also an honorable man. I think that honorable trait comes from him being a warrior, being a leader for his people. Yeah, and that's kind of the great things that we learn about his character. Okay, this is the longest period of time that Frodo has ever worn the ring, and he has the longest look yet at the fiery eye of Sauron. When Frodo takes the ring off, Aragorn is beside him. Frodo distrusts him too, but Aragorn passes the test that Boromir failed. This was really key as well. I like how every character, except for Gimli and Legolas, every character has had an attempt, or at least an opportunity to see how they would stand up against the power of the ring.
They've been tested.
They've all been tested.
They've all been tested by the ring, and some of them passed, some of them failed.
Some failed, yeah. But you could also say that Boromir didn't really fail, like in some kind of way. I would say he's close to failing the test. Cause
if like a pass mark 60%, he got 60%.
Yeah. Well, maybe he more like got 72, I don't know. Well, no, sorry, not 72. Like he more like got, backwards, I mean, he more like got 55. But, because if it wasn't for the likes of like Aragorn, for example, being there, which was kind of important to have that dynamic going on. Yeah. And it was also a way to demonstrate Aragorn's leadership, right? Holding it down, anchoring the team, and also fending off powerful people like Boromir. Because if he wasn't there, man, Boromir would have just taken over. The same way that Isildur just had the power to do whatever he wants, because he was the king at the time, he was the leader of the people. Yeah. So anyway, when Frodo takes the ring, he tells Frodo to run off and turns to face the approaching army of Uruk-hai. Man, when he does this, when the Frodo's sword lights up in blue, and he says, "Run, run, run, run!" Turns around, faces an army of Uruk-hai. Yep. I'm like, bro, come on, you're not going to take that on, really? How are you going to pull this off? And then, of course, the filmmakers know how to do this very well in a way that's believable and plausible. It's just trick photography. No. Anyway, it's sort of done in a way, and then it sort of cuts to other scenes with the other characters and who else they're facing as well. Aragorn wins an epic battle. Go back to here. Boromir also fights valiantly, but is sadly wounded. The Uruk-hai capture Pippin and Merry. Aragorn wins an epic battle with Uruk-hai High, then rushes to the fallen Boromir, who confesses that he tried to steal the ring from Frodo. Now, the Uruk-hai that is called Uruk-hai High, his name is Lurtz, which is a character that actually Shane Rangi originally auditioned for, but didn't get the role. It was given to a guy called Lawrence Makore, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And so he was given the role Lurtz, but Shane's actually kind of happy that he didn't get that role, because if he did Lurtz, he wouldn't be able to do any of the other roles that he did in the Rings trilogy.
That was a really cool fight scene between those two.
Yeah, man, it was an epic fight scene.
Very good choreography.
Yeah. When he throws the shield, and the
knife.
No,
you're talking about that one. Yeah.
Throws the shield, and then it goes to his neck, because there's like a little kind of convenient gap there.
Yeah.
And then he weasels out of it, and then he slices his arm off, and then he stabs him, and then Lurtz kind of pulls him forward. Kind of this really menacing action from Lurtz. I was like, whoa, this is pretty insane. This guy's a psycho. He can't feel the stab. Or can he?
No.
Just maybe all that.
Well, he was born yesterday, wasn't he? He probably doesn't know what pain is.
Born yesterday. All that adrenaline's running through his veins, and then he's just going, rah! Yeah. And then Aragorn slices his head off.
Yeah. Well, there's a little scene. I think this was against the Uruk-hai. This one, and he throws the knife at him, and he hits it away with a sword.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it happens just before the shield.
Yeah, and actually, in that, he wasn't meant to throw it directly at Viggo.
Oh, there's some.
He was meant to throw it to the left or right, but because of the prosthetics.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
He actually threw it straight at him, and Viggo actually had to whack it away. Like, that wasn't even meant to happen.
I love that. I love how they kept that in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they kept it in because it was so cool.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to mention the shot, the really awesome bird's eye view camera shot that they do of this whole forest battle. Do you remember that the shot I'm talking about? It's sort of, it's kind of like an airplane shot where the camera is just brisking past the trees from top down. I guess it's on wires or something, and it's just doing this awesome tracking shot for a long time. And I'm kind of thinking, man, this camera work is absolutely wild in this movie.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best shots in this movie, particularly, but maybe even in the entire trilogy. That's really cool. It just follows the Uruk-hai throughout the forest, them chasing after all the characters.
Yeah, that's right. And you see the big trail of Uruk-hai, and then like the characters sort of fighting and running away at the same time. Yeah, that is a brilliant shot.
Epic shot. Okay, so where are we at? Yes, so Boromir also fights valiantly. Yes, Aragorn was an epic battle. Boromir says he has failed the group, but Aragorn tells Boromir he has fought bravely. Boromir swears allegiance to Aragorn, his rightful king, as he dies. Man, the words that he says to him is heartbreaking, man. The scene... I'm getting chills thinking about it. The scene where he's face-to-face... Aragorn's face-to-face with Boromir, and they're having this powerful dialogue to each other.
Yeah.
Talking to Gino today, he was saying that he was there at the time that they were filming the scene. And he was saying him and the rest of the crew there were in tears.
Yeah, bro.
Of their performance. And dude, mind you, this is on set. This is without the music, out the editing. It's just the powerful performances from Sean Bean and Viggo Mortensen. And he said all the crew were just in tears and they couldn't believe it. And I was like, what? No wonder why this scene is like so impactful. Like if you're in tears without all the editing, can you imagine how the rest of the audience feels? Come on, man.
Yeah. I was about to say, I knew it was going to happen in this scene because I've listened to the book, but I still got emotional, and that just shows you how powerful the acting was. Like I felt chills. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
so
just
good.
Powerful performances, great use of dialogue, or just like the writing from Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens. Here, it's just it's so much great writing and scripting in the entire trilogy, but this moment is pretty special, and I'm always going to remember this as one of the biggest highlights for this trilogy.
I love how Aragorn sort of forgives Boromir for what he did too. Like, tells Boromir, it's fine, man. Like,
which is an incredible trait, and another thing that the writing keeps doubling down on, and we learn as viewers, is that he is a true leader. And these characteristics are so strong, these values are so strong for him, that it sustains him throughout the entire story. That Viggo Mortensen's performance, man, when he's crying on top of Sean Bean, I'm like, come on, dude. I'm done. I'm done. I'm leaving the theater. This movie's too much, man. I'm done. But it's just, it's amazing. And so then we go from this emotional scene, we come back to the river. Frodo regrets having the ring, but remembers Gandalf's words about his destiny. Oh man, and I thought I was done crying from that scene before. And then freaking Gandalf has to come back, or they have to bring back that scene where Gandalf says to Frodo, when does he say it to him? I think he says it to him... Is it in the Shire he says it to him?
What does he say?
He says, you can only do... Oh man, I'm going to butcher the lines. But it's something to do about all you can do is whatever you can do with the time that is given to you. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? That's a line that he says at the beginning of the film. I can't remember if it's in the Shire or if it's no, it has to be in the Shire. That's the only time that they see each other in the Shire, and then way after Bree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know the line you're saying.
But you know, it's coming in as a memory when we get a nice slow tracking close up shot of Frodo, and he's got tears coming down. The shot itself, in terms of color grading, it's cold on purpose, I believe. You know, it's cold because it's supposed to portray this feeling of emptiness and hopelessness. You know, the circumstances are quite dire. That's what it's portraying here, and I love the way it's all graded and sort of shot here. And then he's telling himself, you know, I wish the ring had never come to me. And then he remembers Gandalf's words. Do you have Gandalf's words there?
No, I can't find it.
Just type it into AI; it'll tell you.
I don't have AI.
Anyway, so those are the words about his destiny. He departs in a boat. The music here swells up so much. He clutches the ring in his hand, and then the music's kind of doing its thing. He goes onto the boat, gets out onto the water, goes to paddle away, and then Sam comes running down. He departs in a boat, but Sam insists on coming along. Though he can't swim, Sam jumps in the water, and Frodo is forced to rescue his flailing friend and pull him aboard. I made a promise, Mr. Frodo.
Don't say it.
Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And then I can't remember what he says after that.
And I don't mean to. I don't mean to.
Man. Yeah, Sean Astin's performance in this. Come on, man. All the performances are already outstanding, and then you have these two little hobbits who by no means getting overshadowed by anyone. The performances are so strong, and it's just the chemistry and the bond between the two, Frodo and Sam, is just it's you can clutch it, right? It's that tangible.
Yeah.
And
the loyalty.
Yeah, the loyalty, and like Sean Astin's emotion and his crying, I'm like, oh fuck. this
in all these movies, bro, every single time he gets emotional,
it's too much, man. These movies need to calm down on the emotion.
He sucks you into the emotion.
They need to calm the hell down. So they have that moment, and then he says, "Oh, Sam," and then they hug it out. They paddle off, and then our three major warriors and fighters come back down to the bank, and then Gimli and Legolas are ready to jump out as well. I don't even at this point they see them going off in a boat. How are they going to get across the river too? I was kind of wondering that the other day. I was like, wait, if they did decide to go after them, how would they jump? I don't think there was another boat there.
There was two boats.
Oh, there was?
There were two boats between the. Yeah, okay. There was.
I never noticed it. I sort of thought about it the other day. I was like,
because they got to jump into the other boat.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I think Legolas jumps into the boat first, right? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he jumps in or if he just goes to jump in, but yeah.
And on the water's opposite side, Sam and Frodo climb a mountain and spot Mordor in the distance. Now, before we end that part of the recap, though, or before we end the recap, I do want to mention the lines that they exchanged between the three of them, which is coming from Aragorn mostly. He says, Frodo's fate is no longer in our hands. I can't remember what he says after that. but then, Gimli and Legolas are sort of kind of nodding and slight agreements or what have you. And then he says, we can't leave, because I guess that kind of like, well, what do we do now, right? If we're not going to help out Frodo and not going to follow him, what are we going to do now? Yeah. It's like we can't leave Merry and Pippin up to whatever. We should go.
The orcs.
Yeah, we should go find them, and let's hunt some orc. And then they go. I think it's Gimli. He goes, yeah. And then Legolas is like, yeah. Legolas doesn't shout, but he just has this like relief and this encouragement too. So then they all run up the bank, and then the music kicks in. It's like super powerful. And then we get to that last shot of Sam and Frodo climbing the mountain. They spot Mordor in the distance, and the last words that they exchange to each other, I think it comes from Frodo first, where he says, "I'm glad you're with me, Sam." And then he says, "So am I?" Does he say "so am I"? I think he says something like that.
I think it's something along those lines.
So am I, or whatever. And then they travel into the distance, and then the shot takes its time. I love how it takes its time. They're just walking.
Yeah, it zooms out.
It's not. I don't think it's quite a zoom out, but so it keeps it quite steady. It's a big establishing shot of them walking down the Rocky Mountain with with Mordor and the Eye in the distance, and then fade to black, and then the music kicks in and the end. And that is the end of the recap.
Such a good movie.
Oh my god. Jeez, man. What a movie. What a movie. Some quick facts, okay? When I say quick, we should probably be quick because there's 10 facts to go through. There's a lot. Fact number 1. Ouch! The scene where I don't know why it's called out. The scene where Gandalf hits his head off a beam in Bilbo's house. Yeah, that was original. That was real. He actually did hit his head on the beam. Yeah, and he left it in the film. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Peter Jackson thought Ian McKellen did a fantastic job acting through the gaff, and so he kept it in the final cut. What a dude! Imagine if Ian McKellen was kind of like, "I actually hated the fact that I hit my head. Why'd you put it in the movie?"
It's a stormtrooper scene.
It is a stormtrooper scene. Except that stormtrooper scene is an accident, and it's supposed to not even happen by the storm. Well, is it? I don't know. Stormtroopers are pretty dumb. I kind of left it down to that.
They are pretty dumb.
Fact number 2. The one true ring, the wedding ring of co-founder Rick Parris. Shout out to Rick Parris, the producer from New Line, was the template for the look of the ring used in the movie. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I guess that it was probably the ring that was used in the close-up shots, maybe even between the characters of Gandalf and Frodo.
Yeah, well, I know, in the epilogue when the ring comes down spinning?
Yep.
I know that can't be it, because that was actually like a really big ring.
Well, that was just a close-up. It could have just been a regular ring.
No, it was a big ring.
Was
it? They made a big ring. Okay. Yeah, they made a big ring for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The more you know. Yeah. Third fact, not quite the one ring. Director Peter Jackson gave one of the rings used in the movie to Elijah Wood and another to Andy Serkis, who played Gollum. When the shooting for the film was finished, both Wood and Serkis thought they had the only one. That's pretty hilarious. There's actually good material if I was to ever get any of those guys onto the podcast. Then I'll mention something like that. That's pretty funny.
That'd be funny.
Next one is called Fly You Falls. The cast often had to fly to isolated locations in a helicopter to shoot scenes. Oh, actually, I know this one. Showmen had a fear of flying and would only go in the helicopter if there was no other choice. When shooting scenes for the Fellowship where the characters were crossing snowy mountains, Bean would spend 2 hours each morning hiking from their base camp to the set, all while dressed as Boromir. Yeah. This is in the appendices. Yeah, he was so fearful of flying, and obviously, like, they're not doing these things in sound studios and blue or green screen.
Yeah,
it's all location, and these mountains are huge, man. I cannot believe that he hiked in his gear. His gear isn't light, man. It's heavy.
No,
it's legit gear. Costume. There's a reason why they won.
Men would have been.
Yeah, there's a reason why they won the Oscar award for best costume design.
Men would have been fit after that.
Dude, man. What a good way to get into his character, though. It's a good warm up for his character. he must have been so tired. Remember that's one of the moments where he gets tempted by the ring on the snowy part. That's the scene that it's referring to.
Yeah. Okay.
Next one is called "Put Me Back in Coach." Viggo Mortensen chipped a tooth while filming the battle between Aragorn and the Uruk-hai leader Lurtz. He was reportedly so gung-ho about finishing the scene that he suggested that he just super glue the piece of tooth back on his mouth so they could keep filming. Jackson put his foot down, however, and had Mortensen taken to the dentist. What a dude!
This guy got so many injuries.
He got a lot of injuries. But what I love about this is that he had the spirit of hard work. He had the spirit of determination to do everything he could possibly do right?
Yeah.
To film these movies. And this rings
Oh.
true to all the crew and cast, and especially talking to Shane and Gino today, is that they said that one of the brilliant experiences they had, and amongst all of them, right, during the films, was that everybody was so much like family, and everybody cared so much about filming these films that they would do anything possible to make it work. And I think Viggo Mortensen picked up on that pretty quick. Not trying to take away from the fact that this could be naturally his character, but I would suspect that it's because of the environment that Pete built in the set, which is it's a very kind of Kiwi New Zealand thing to do, is that you create these environments where people are comfortable, safe, and everybody feels like they want to chip in their best, you know. So it kind of reminds you of that.
I think it shows throughout the movie as well. I think you can see the chemistry and the familyness between the characters.
Totally, man.
Between
and that's what I said to the boys today. I said, man, I think one things that I realize about why these films are so good is because it looks like every person worked on them, cast and crew, cared about what they were doing.
Yeah.
You can tell, like, the quality is so high because they simply just cared about what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, man, that was the truth. The next one is called Terminator is Real. A computer program called Massive. This is the one I was talking about. Massive was used to make armies of CG orcs, elves, and humans. These digital characters could think and fight on their own, recognizing friend from foe. Different species even had their own fighting styles. How crazy is that, right?
That's kind of cool.
They had a piece of visual effects technology that they made so that they weren't replicates of each other. So they're all doing different things according to the interactions that they had.
It's almost like AI.
It's like early AI tech.
Yeah,
and this was invented by Weta Digital. That's nuts,
nuts,
man. It's nuts. So knowing this, when you go back to watch the film again, you'll see like the large sweeping shots of the Urukai and the orcs and all that, and even some of the Rohirrim. A lot of them were CG too. It's all the massive tech, AI tech, and it's just super impressive.
That's awesome.
Next one is, what about 16th Breakfast? When Pippin is hit in the head with an apple after asking about if they can have second breakfast, it is Viggo Mortensen throwing the apple at his head. They had to film the shot 16 times to get it right. And Pippin actor Billy Boyd says he believes Mortensen loved each take. That's so good.
He got hit in the head 16 times with an apple.
That's hilarious.
That's a good scene.
The next one is Late Arrival. Viggo Mortensen joined the film after it had begun shooting. He had never met Peter Jackson before or read any of the Lord of the Rings books. It was Mortensen's 11-year-old son who convinced his dad to join as Aragorn. So his son, I think his son's name is... I can't remember. I follow him on Instagram, though. His son is a massive, obsessed Lord of the Rings fan, and when he was offered the role, he didn't audition. He was offered the role of Aragorn. He told his 11-year-old son about it because he knew that his son was obviously into Lord of the Rings. And he said he was actually going to turn it down, but his son said, "You need to do Lord of the Rings." Because Lord of the Rings is like greatest.
Thank you. Thank you, Viggo.
I know, right? Do you know, because he wasn't the first choice. I think he was like the fourth choice or something.
I seem to remember some really big actor was offered it.
Yeah, like I know actors like Stuart Townsend was offered the role. Can't remember the other ones. Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. No,
I think Brad Pitt was offered.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Imagine that. Brad Pitt would not have fit into this role in 2000.
I reckon Brad Pitt would kill it as Aragorn. Maybe
not back then. Maybe nowadays.
No, back then, yeah, sure. Why wouldn't you back then?
He just looked too young back then, I think. I think you need that older, rugged look. I mean, you can do that with makeup.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, next one is Tall Dwarf. Yeah, so this is actually kind of interesting. John Rhys Davies, who plays Gimli, is the tallest of any of the actors in the Fellowship. I think he's like 6'5" or something, or 6'6".
I can't imagine a 6'5" Gimli.
Dude, and he's the shortest out of all of them. He's even shorter than the Hobbits.
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
The last one is don't need no education. Orlando Bloom got the role of Legolas just 2 days before he completed drama school. This was his first movie, dude. And his first movie was freaking Lord of the Rings.
Set him up.
What a jackpot.
Yeah. He did so well as well.
Yeah, I mean, he went on to do Pirates of the Caribbean and became super rich from that franchise.
Yeah. But I mean, he didn't make much money from the Lord of the Rings. I think he only made like 175,000.
He made 75,000.
From 75,000 was it? Yeah. Which is
it's a famous.
It's not nothing, but
it's a famous clip from his interview with Howard Stern.
Was that across the three movies or just the first movie? That's nuts. And he's a main character.
Yeah. Or maybe it's 100. Maybe you're right. It's 175 across all three movies.
Yeah.
No, I think it's. I know it's quite low, and the reason why I know that's because of that Howard Stern interview with him. Because Howard Stern was like, "Hey, how much did you get paid on those movies?" And he's like, "I actually only got like $70,000." And he's like, "You only got that much?" And the movie made billions of dollars. He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You know what? But I'm not complaining. That was the first movie that he'd ever done, and it's one of the greatest films ever made. And look at how it's shaped his career." So you obviously can't complain about that. It's funny. We were talking about salaries with the boys today, Shane and Gina. Because Shane is the actor. And we were just talking about how like actors weren't paid as much, like especially during the Lord of the Rings. It wasn't like a big salary break for anybody, but everybody was there for the purpose of really loving the opportunity, loving the craftsmanship, and just loving the industry.
Speaking of sort of salaries, are either of those guys working on any movies?
I mentioned it in the conversation. It's one of the last things that we mentioned in the conversation. Like, what do you
got to go back?
Yeah, I sort of say before we wrap it up, what are you guys working on at the moment that people can look forward to?
Sweet.
I mean, I can mention it here. I don't mind. But Shane is working on. He's got two films. One, he finished his own movie that he directed, wrote, and acted in a couple of years ago. Then he's got another film coming out. I actually forget the name of it. And he's got he's very close friends with James Cameron. And because I don't know if you know that James Cameron lives in Wellington now. Yeah, he lives in Wellington now. He made the first Avatar movie in Wellington. And he fell in love with the country, and now he lives in Wellington. And he continues to make all of his films. I
think that's easy to do.
Yeah, he continues to make all his films in New Zealand and Wellington. So Shane's very good friends with him, and I think he's co-executive producer on Shane's film coming out soon. And then Gino's next movie coming out is the Apes movie that comes on next week. The Apes movie, Kingdom Planet of the Apes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, gotcha. So that's his latest work. That's coming out in 2 weeks.
I'm going to have to watch
it. And I said, oh, hey, we actually reviewed all 3 films in the podcast, only a few episodes before this one. And he's like, oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I said, we're obviously going to have to do a 4th one as well. We got to talk about that kind of stuff. Anyway. Anyway, so that brings us to an end to the Fellowship of the Ring review and recap. Now, in regular fashion and style on the podcast, we have to give this a rating out of 10. I'll leave it with you. Where would you give it out of 10? You can summarize before you get to your rating, or you can just give your rating if you've had enough talking about it.
I think I've given enough summary. I think I've given enough summary, to be honest. I would give it... I don't want to say a perfect 10. I feel like that's too cliche, but it'd be close. Let's give it a 9.8.
Okay, we don't do 9.8s here, right?
No,
you can do a 0.5. You can do it in decimal 0.5.
9.5.
Okay.
1.
All right, cool. And for me, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I don't care what y'all say.
That's fair enough. I think you get the extra 0.5 because it's so nostalgic for you, whereas for me, it's more of a new thing, and it's more of an appreciation for the movie than a nostalgia.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Like any other nitpicks that I have on this film, which I don't even think I spoke much about any other nitpicks. I think I spoke about one or two, maybe to do with like compositing and some sort of dodgy shots here and there. It's hard to fault, and I've heard every piece of negative criticism under the sun for this, and some of them are okay, but I just don't think it justifies having to lower certain or lower the points or degrade the points a little bit just because of some of it, because it is justifiable, but they're not enough to overshadow like all the greatness that you get out of it. Because ultimately, when you get to the end of the film, it's fulfilling, right? It's a satisfying, cathartic experience, and great films will always give you a cathartic feeling.
It'll give you the feeling of wanting more as well.
Wanting more. So it's too hard to fault, man. I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair. 100%.
Do you want people to follow you on social media? Would you like to mention your social media? Is it worth it? You don't have to. No pressure.
Nah, I haven't really got any social media. I used to stream, but not anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right. Bailey is a gamer. Tell us about your gaming life. Don't tell us too long after the end of the episode.
No, I haven't got much to say really. Just a bit of a nerd. Play some games with River.
What? Don't drag me down. I don't play games.
Yeah, you do. Don't try to hide it. You're a nerd.
So listener, we play this game called Counter-Strike, the greatest game ever made. We have a lot of complaints lately, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to get into those complaints. And if you're a Counter-Strike player, you know exactly what we're talking about. But ultimately, we love the game, and it is the greatest game ever made. But
that's what we
really have to say, and that's Bailey in a nutshell. But if you do want to follow the podcast, everything is in the show notes. I'll also mention it here that it is at Legit Cool Podcast on Instagram. On Facebook, it is Legit Cool Podcast Movie Talk. And on X, or recently on X, formerly known as Twitter, I don't know how long we're going to be saying formerly known as Twitter, but we are now on X as of the last week or so, which is at Legit Cool Pod. I couldn't get the full name at Legit Cool Podcast because someone took it. Who the hell has at Legit Cool Podcast on X? Someone's stealing our thunder. So thank you so much for listening in on this very long and really well earned episode review and recap of the Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition. We will catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.